Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to another episode of Ferris Makes Demos. This time I thought I'd try something a little different. You'll notice my layout is a bit different and the text is going to be a bit harder to read. This is actually my 4K screen here. And I've got my code editor on the right. I've actually increased the font size to what I normally do on the stream, but it's going to be like half as big because yeah, the screen isn't scaled like it normally is. But basically, continuing off of last weekend, I'm still working on sort of prepping visuals for our live show for Evoke. And right now I'm still in the process of, rigging, or sorry, I guess unrigging is actually the right term. Basically taking a bunch of scenes from our old demos and kind of making them fit sort of comfortably in this more live-ish setup. I gotta admit, the way our tool is set up is really not built for this, so it's kind of crap to like undo a lot of this rigging and stuff, and I'm not having that much fun doing it. Not to mention this weekend, my brain has just been like, dude, you're not gonna focus on anything, so it's been kind of a struggle to just sit down and get stuff done this weekend, but I thought that I can at least use the stream to kind of motivate me to move forward on this, as well as I bought a bunch of candy, so sugar highs tend to help me do this kind of stuff. So yeah, I thought I would just make myself comfortable here. Kind of still explain what I'm doing while I'm doing stuff, but yeah, probably not in as much detail as normal. Then we'll just kind of hang out and get this stuff done. Is it possible to do full screen on Twitch with the chat? That'd be nice. Good to hear, Daniel Cullen. Yeah, I did actually do a test recording in 1080p, and it does look okay. But yeah, stuff's gonna be small. But I kind of need to do a lot of like back and forth between the code and this graph here. So yeah. Oh yeah, the theater mode thing. That makes sense. So basically what I've kind of done here so far is I just made a list of scenes that I want to pull out of our demos here. I can just pull up this. I usually make like tracking tickets for this kind of thing. This I'll zoom in for. Quite a lot. Look how tiny my checkbox has got. That's awesome. So basically, I wanted basic full screen, which I did last weekend. So I'm constantly increasing time. I did that last weekend. And here I'm going to fork a bunch of the demo projects. So I want to go through Elysian and take out the sphere scene, the lead tunnel, and the what I call the money shot, which is the ring scene. From Engage, we're going to take the tunnel from the beginning, which I've modified a bit, and that actually looks kind of cool now. As if it didn't in the demo. The pillars thing, which is like the kaleidoscope kind of objects. And then the balls, which is it's actually called columns in the project, but it's these 3 spheres with this like landscape thing and these like lights things. I want to take the migraine scene and then a couple of the scenes that I built on the stream the last couple months. Basically put all these, this will make 8 or 9 scenes in total. And that will be triggerable now from these drum pads that I have over on my MIDI controller. So yeah, I'm basically going through and making these kind of not use any of the stuff from Rocket. I've basically done all that in this project at least, except the cameras and some of the depth of field stuff. And I keep just kind of getting distracted and just playing with the effects themselves, which I need to do anyway, so it's not really that bad. And then I'm going to import all those into one big project. And I'm hoping to basically make some progress on these 2 things in particular during the stream here. In addition, I want to do kind of like a second overlay layer kind of thing. Currently, Elysian has a bunch of this stuff in it already with these like flashy shapes and stuff. I want to do some more of that crap. And so I want to use like the remaining drum pads that I don't have hooked up to effects to select different versions of those so I can kind of mix and match things. Then I've also done the MIDI stuff. I did last weekend. I did the hookup MIDI control signals, and this weekend I did the simplest thing I could think of to like select scenes, which is that per MIDI device I can keep track of the last note that comes in, and then I can just switch on that to decide the scene. I was gonna do something like make each note do a pulse, so your expression would be 1 if the particular note you're listening for was hit that frame. Otherwise it would be 0. But then that would require me to then assign that to like a scene variable based on which one was hit. And I actually don't have in this system any way to feedback variables. I think everything is set to 0 at the beginning of the frame, because it actually recreates the variable store, which is kind of stupid, but that's how it works right now. So this was kind of the shorter path there. And it's fine because I can always revisit how this stuff works. And then I need to map out the knobs and faders, which again, I've been a bit distracted. So I've actually done a lot of that. And then, yeah, do some other stuff. But yeah, mostly I want to work on actually getting these scenes kind of prepared for this environment. Now, like I said, I have gotten a bit distracted. So like I've got the aberration on one knob. I have mirror X on another, mirror Y on another. This one is circle of confusion for the depth of field. So it's kind of hard to see here, but if I turn it all the way down, you basically get no depth of field. If I turn it up, then you get really kind of, yeah. Big circle of confusion is really the correct term there. This is this like fisheye effect from Almost Infinite. And I made it so you can turn it like way too much up. And then I've also got exposure over here, which will be nice to kind of hand sync some stuff. So I think this will be kind of cool. I think this will actually work pretty well when it's all there, but I just need to sit down and kind of chug through a lot of this stuff. So yeah. Yeah, the thing is that this is like I use 1:1 on the 4K because my screen is a 43-inch, so it's really just like having 4 1080p screens. So of course it'll look tiny on a lot of things, but like for how it is physically in my living room, it actually looks really natural. I don't know if there'll be recordings of the show. I know it's probably going to be streamed, but I don't actually know for sure. All that stuff is going to be through the Evoke party stuff. I don't know if they have channels for that at the moment. So I'm really not sure if there'll be recordings and that stuff, but I guess we'll see. I'll definitely tweet a lot about it if I find out that there are such links. Dan Collins says last year they streamed on Twitch. That would be ideal, because then we could probably get a recording from them as well. That could be cool. But yeah, I'm just going to stick with this layout for this stream, even though it's less comfortable for you guys. Sorry about that. But it's going to make sense for me, at least. Which, considering I just kind of have to chug through a bunch of work here, I think it's going to be ideal. So particularly, I need to go through these scenes. I'll just go in order, actually. I like this with the kind of fisheye thing on it. Like, a lot of this is going to look really distasteful, but it's going to be just, like, a lot happening for the audience, if that makes sense. So, like, it'll kind of work, I think, in that context, where it's just going to be so much, like, sensory overload kind of thing that I think making this really tasteful is just not the right approach. But making it more dynamic is definitely something that I'll have to do. But yeah, I also keep just getting distracted and playing with this because it's fun. But the annoying thing here, I've been thinking this for a while, but the kind of annoying thing is that like our demo tool has really been built around using Rocket for one timeline, and that's just how it goes. But for the live visuals, I think ideally I would have had like a system that would have allowed us to like take chunks of the timeline and just kind of loop those and then select which one of those we display. Now that's not really that feasible with the way we have all our text set up currently. So what I'm doing instead is I'm just kind of ripping out all the Rocket specific stuff and just kind of making it so I can kind of like hard code some camera paths and stuff. Now what I don't like about that is that then it's gonna be a little bit like harder to get the really nice moments. Like I think if like this was kind of, if we were able to just like play clips of the previous demos, then it would have been like all the cameras are there. There's a lot of sync, a lot of parameters sort of interplaying with each other. And it's going to be a bit cheaper the way I'm going to have to do this for this thing. But I think it'll be okay. Like good enough at least. But it's like I keep sort of moving towards the direction that we need to do our own sort of sequencer just because of the way that I want to try working at least, which is to kind of build these smaller timelines and then be able to, in a sort of Premiere or After Effects like timeline, be able to sort of sequence and stretch those. And yeah, just kind of thinking about that as I'm doing this, just because I'm not enjoying this process that much, to be honest. But yeah. So I think what I honestly just have to do here is go the timeline here, somewhere around here, and just like copy out this camera, and then I'll just add some like sinus motion to it, and it'll be good enough. Metal Voids, be honest, you're speculating the audience being drunk? Hell yeah. Yeah, exactly, Alkama. It's going to be messy, and I just, like, my goal really here is to kind of make it expressive so that as we're playing with the parameters, and, like, as we're kind of feeling the music and getting in the zone and then playing with the parameters, that sort of together will make sort of an experience, but, yeah. just kind of thinking, like, how this could have been better. But a lot of that's in my head as well, I'm sure. Like, at the party, it'll just be cool. I won't be drunk for this, for sure. Like, I don't trust myself enough to be drunk whenever we have anything to do. Those of you guys who know me at demo parties will see me have a lot of caffeine and not eat enough. Get the demo done, and then drink a lot. So Friday, I'll probably have my fair share. But Saturday, which is when this is going to happen, probably won't have that much to drink. Yeah, we have Logicoma stickers. Not very many left because we only did like one batch for revision. I've got a couple here, and they're on like my laptops and stuff. We need to do more of these, but I'm sure we will. We also did Logicoma caps, but we only did 3 of them for this show. So not even Darth Shader's gonna get one this time. Yeah, I need a pixelized filter, and I need like a glitch filter like we had in the text in Engage, so I want to steal some of that as well. Exactly, for when people yell Amiga. Yeah, we definitely need more merch. I mean, the thing is that merch is surprisingly expensive to produce, actually. So a lot of this stuff we're just like putting our prize money into, which is kind of a good way to do it, I think. But before that, it's literally just come out of our pockets. So like we're losing money on this deal so far. But it's fun though. Yeah, again, shirts we did. Well, we only did a batch of 3, but we did do shirts for Turslock last year. But it would be really cool to do more. Amigo meter. You mean a tunnel? I think that's all you need there. All right, so the way the camera works in this demo, there's the rendering pipeline over here. And the first thing it does is it initializes all the render targets here, and then it calls this camera function, which just selects which camera we're using and then sets up a bunch of stuff for the view matrices. Now, particularly, I'm going to need to kind of rip this out and then just like copy the parameters for these individual parts. Now, the nice thing here, actually, is that I should be able to just sort of rearrange this and have each of the individual, each of the individual parts call the camera function. I think I'll do that first because then I can just like swap out these one by one. So I think that'll be pretty nice here. So do that. Then we'll be inside the sphere because we're not setting up the camera each frame. That's fine. And I'll call this sync camera as well, just because. So we're going to want to call this inside each of the different parts. That should do that. Now everything should work just as it did, except on the parts without scenes. We get no camera movement, which is correct. That's pretty cool. The plan is just to like, so you can see that I've already converted a lot of the effects to just be kind of free running. So if I just let it sit, like there's motion happening. I'm going to make the cameras also do that. Where it's just going to be like on a sort of a set sinus kind of path. And then all the MIDI stuff is all we're going to tweak live. And I think there's going to be enough here that's going to be pretty cool by the time we actually get all this running and we're doing it live. Especially because we have pretty fine-grained control over this stuff, so it should be pretty cool. But I think that's the whole plan. I think as well, Hoffman is going to send out some MIDI from his machine as well, which is just going to be some notes along with the tempo. So should be able to sync some stuff with that as well. But not sure how I'm going to rig that just yet. I think it'll work. I think it'll work well enough. Especially when you get like the scene selectors and stuff, then I think it'll start feeling pretty dynamic. Especially with a lot of cyclic post stuff. Like I really want to get more post effects, like glitchy stuff, especially. Kind of thinking about the most recent Epoch demo, and a big reason why is because it has a lot of the same inspirations that we have actually, in terms of like it's totally a like VJ kind of demo, and yeah, in terms of like having a lot of cyclic things that you sort of sync with on beat and stuff. I don't know. Something like that should work here. Yeah, exactly. Plenty of time. Bouncing ball and flash shaded cube. Exactly. Color cycling bouncy ball. I bet I can get Hoffman to put that sound effect in the set as well. But we'll see. I would be Hackerman Skeleton, but I'm missing a power glove. And I'm ashamed to admit that, to be honest. I have a super scope at my mom's. But no power glove. I also modified NES Advantage to work with C64 when I was in high school. That was pretty cool. Yeah, absolutely right, Skeleton. That's what this set needs. I wonder how quickly I can get one of those off of eBay. This is a bad thing to think about now. Unrelated, I bought my plane tickets to Datastorm today, so I'm pretty happy about that. But yeah, so instead of having these, we're going to need to hard code some cameras here. Now, for now, I'm just thinking one scene or one sort of camera per scene. I may add more if we get time and I feel like it, but since it's not a very fun thing to do, I may not. And that's just kind of how it goes. By the way, I'm not actually sure when this came out. I'm going to show what I'm listening to here. This is Let It Roll Volume 2. So Let It Roll, as far as I know, is a German-based festival. But they put out these compilation albums, and they put out the first one in like 2015, and I listened to that so much when I was doing like the initial Logicoma stuff. So it's kind of cool that I just recently discovered, it just came out in February 13. But yeah, so it came out earlier this year, the second one, and it's super good. I'm going to link that. As far as productions for Datastorm, I have nothing planned. But Hoffman had a really good idea that I could do like a Pro Tracker module or something. And I like that idea because it's just like super low pressure. Like just throw together a tune or something. I think that could be fun. So I may do that. We'll see. For now, I'm just going to make myself a little room here. Kind of the annoying part about having a visual language like this is you got to do a lot of this stuff. Like literally just move things around. Whereas in text, when you move something, a lot of other stuff moves out of the way for you. That's not too bad. So I'm thinking particularly for this ball scene, we'll do a different camera function. The reason I'm doing this is just so if I want to put in like other camera stuff later, this shouldn't be too bad. Right now, I'm just going to call the regular camera thing though. The sync camera here. And this is going to call that instead. So we should get the same result there. But yeah. Yeah, Chris Hulsbeck is coming to Datastorm. It's going to be awesome. I'm quite excited for that party. I've totally never been. And I'm too much of an Amiga noob to contribute much, but I think it'll be fun. I won't be bringing my Amiga, though, because I'm flying there. Plus, I just have, like, no way to use it properly. Unless I also brought, like, my huge monitor, which is not going to work. I actually want to hit up Pantaloon and check out his integrated C64 development setup as well. Because that was kind of an inspiration for my SNES stuff when I think back on it. And I met the guy in person at Evoke several years ago, and I haven't talked to him since. But yeah, so let's do this camera stuff. Basically, I'm just going to copy this camera for now, I think. So do that. We can just get rid of the sync camera here and just enter in all the parameters, which is not going to be that great to do. Actually, wait a minute. One more thing I need to do here. Need to do the depth of field stuff as well so we can get all those in here. Now, currently, I have a bunch of locals that set up the parameters here. And I need these to be scene specific. The depth range, polygon amount, and polygon size. I think that's all I need for this per scene. Yeah, it's all the parameters I'm actually using here. So I think that's going to be okay. Yeah, it's going to be fine. And this camera is, yeah, the camera 0 or 1. I think is how I did that. Yeah. So it's this camera in particular. Shouldn't be that hard to copy. But yeah, so I think I need these. Like I have these locals here set up. I think I'm actually going to do this. I think we're going to copy these out. And the COC as well. Even though that's already kind of hooked up in a different way. In fact, actually, I'm going to put that back. Because that's on the slider. But yeah, so now these here. The error that's going to give me. It's actually kind of cool. Which terminal is it? I think it's this one. Nope, it's not that one. This one. It's giving me a compile error because this function here, for this particular pass of the depth of field thing, requires an argument that's not met because these are local variable assignments. Kind of a thing. Anyway, so I need to make some arguments here. We need focus depth, focus range, polygon amount, and polygon size. Now here's where I wish my system had like copy paste and just doesn't right now, and I don't want to hack that at the moment because we basically need to bubble up these arguments. So it would be nice to select these and copy them, but that's not how this is going to work. Wait till you see my plan for when I start mixing these projects together as well. That one's going to be special. So at the moment, the depth of field parameters are selected by the scene. Draw scene happens here. Yeah, so these locals here basically would have to define them like here. Then things should work. I think though, how do I want to do this? It's going to be kind of a hacky way to do this. Let's actually remove the arguments from here. And I'm making locals for these that then, actually if I do this earlier than that. If I do it here, then the scenes will be able to overwrite the values of these using global assignments. So I think that's what I'll do, and then draw scene can actually do these. I think that'll be good enough, because then at least I get them just in the functions here. So I think that's fine. So then I need globals to set these up, which shouldn't be too bad. In fact, I'll even do it amidst the camera stuff, and there's a reason why, particularly the distance for the camera I want to reuse for both the actual camera position and the depth of field distance. So putting it here makes sense. These are going to be globals. And we need these same values here. That's a bit odd. Nice, Santa Colin. I thought he worked there. I didn't know if he still did. Like I said, I only met him once. Haven't talked to him since. This should have overwritten those values. I think, because we call draw scene here, which will dispatch to these different ones here. And that should have overwritten the values here since they're globals and they have the same name. That happens here. So maybe that is actually working though. Like if we do focus depth, if we do like 100 here, does that change? No, that should change what we see here. So I'm wondering why that is. It could just be, honestly, that this is not used how I expect. Should be though. Yes, that just gets those. Okay, that looks correct actually. Yeah, and again, this is fine. So it should just pass these down. Oh no, it sets the locals after the G-buffer pass. That's the issue. There we go. That's what I expected to see. So now I should be able to basically copy out the values from Rocket here. And then we'll do the same thing with the camera. So in this case, we'll do focus depth is negative 9.7. Yeah, that makes sense for what we should see. I think the focus range is 0, and that's actually what's causing everything to be black. Yeah, see, there we go. Turn that up here. In this case, we'll do 9.2. Now, these are pretty specific values, but that'll be fine. Polygon amount is 1, and polygon sides, I believe, here is 5. Now, I don't really know why polygon sides made that black, but whatever. Okay, so now I'm able to sort of set this up per scene in a way that's not fabulous, but it's fine. Yeah, still no sub button. I'll get that fixed soon enough. Yeah, I think we're fine with that one then. Except that, yeah, I want it before I move the cursor up and down here, just to make sure that these match. I want to do the camera position here as well. So here, I think I'll just copy out the camera parameters. So it looks like I do translate, rotate, translate for different positions. XYZ, XYZ, XYZ. And I think all these affect the view matrix. Again, here would have been really nice for a copy and paste, but I just don't have that right now. The kind of fun thing about this, though, is it's kind of stretching the use case for the tool in general, because this is not what it was originally designed for. Oh, actually, to ZXY here. Interesting. ZXY, ZXY. XYZ. And then here we have, so this is going to be distance, which we can read over here from this camera. Let's do 14.4. Oh yeah, we want to get rid of the sync camera thing here. Actually, that was negative distance, wasn't it? Yeah, it was. In fact, you know what I might do here? Do something like this instead. Set up the variables exactly the same way that they're set up over there. So we can do this as locals. That'll make this a little easier. In fact, then I might make this a little function as well. We'll see. Nice software. Local hoster, that's a great idea. That would be, in my recent experience, that's something that would be helpful. So we want distance, just copy these parameters here. Distance, offset X, offset Y, rotate X, rotate Y, rotate Z, pivot, pivot, pivot. So this is 0. And then I'll hook these up proper. This was kind of a nice way to do this, I think, because then I'll be able to just copy the value sort of as is. We have X, and that's going to be -8. Y is 0. And here we have rotate Z is 0. Pivot X, pivot Y, and pivot Z are all 0 in this case. And then we hook all this stuff up. Here I do negative offset for both of these. Do I do have copy and paste for text fields. That's just because I get that from the OS. Okay, none of those were negative, right? Yeah. And then here we had just the pivot ones. The camera that I use is kind of non-standard, but over a lot of years of doing demos a particular way, it's something that I'm really comfortable with. So no worries, local hoster. Because the other advantage there is it wouldn't necessarily be that bad bandwidth wise if not that much is changing on different windows, because you would only have to really stream the differences for particular windows. If you had the right codecs. I leverage the Q graphics scene view items for the editor selections in motion. No. This is a QOpenGL view, QOpenGL widget, I think it is. There's the older QGL widget, and this is QOpenGL widget, and then this is just a custom one. I think it's just derives from QWidget and does all custom drawing and custom interaction logic, which is really not that bad, to be honest. Yeah, this whole thing here is one control, one widget. It just handles all of its selection, interaction stuff. And then this down here, so this I call the operator editor. This down here is the inspector. And then down here, there's the profiler. And this one, of course, will like instantiate based on the different operator type. It'll instantiate a bunch of text boxes with the name of the expressions and then the values. And then that's really all that is. And then down here we have custom rendering again, but it's just drawing rectangles. Yeah, maybe. I didn't know about QGraphics Scene. But this really wasn't that hard to make just because it's a grid editor. So things are pretty easy. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and make this. Plus var camera. By the way, if I put this under here and let go, it'll crash. Here I need arguments for all this. Nice part about making this take arguments like this is that if I go to one of the other scenes and then call this, it will tell me exactly all the variables that I need to add before it works. Which is just nice. So there's our camera for the ball scene. That's basically covered. I'm going to put this over here, I think. Move this stuff. But yeah, I think that'll work. So now I should be able to freely move around in the sync editor, and nothing happens to the ball scene except some other stuff. But yeah, that's fine. So we need to basically do the same for the tunnel and the other thing. There are a couple other parameters here, particularly with this yellow thing here. In fact, I'm actually going to remove that as well. That's going to be somewhere over here with the actual scene-specific stuff. Ball. There's actually a lot of parameters for the ball, if I recall correctly. I think I'll end up just kind of like hard coding these. Here. So let's go into here. Somewhere there's going to be the stripe position. We're going to make that 0. Stripe width is going to be 0.4. This is what I mean. Like I have to like unrig stuff, and it's not very nice to do, to be honest. Move a bunch of this stuff to the shaders. X is 0. Pause Y, negative 0.2. Oh, it's 0.02, isn't it? Okay, yeah, now I remember what that is. That's to move this around, which I did for aesthetic reasons. Circle radius is going to be nothing. I think that's the circles in the little Logic Coma logo that it does. Lift is kind of a cool parameter in this. Lift is 0.3. This is how far away this stuff is. Might do some crap with that in the shader. Rotation, that'll just be 0. Correct width, 0.6. This is how far around this goes. Height is 0.05. Nah. The cutout is how much we have these little slashes here. 0 is just a rectangle. I like doing those kind of slashes. Cutout frequency, this is actually cool that I have that as a parameter, but I don't think I ever modified it. That actually should have made it lots of little ones. Guessing it didn't because aliasing. Work to cutout offset. That's 23. Oh yeah, that would actually make it move over time. That one will definitely have to do other parameters. And then there's background amount, which is, I guess, how much the background's faded in, and that's probably somewhere it calls the background. Where's ball scene background? Where's that? Here it is. Oh, it sets all these to the amount. Okay, well that's just going to be 1 the whole time. Oh yeah, and this is probably the position of the gradient in the background. Yeah, that's what that is. Nice. Yeah, I do all comma. I just repaint on all the changes, which isn't the fastest, but it's pretty simple to code. Yeah, Daniel Colin, I could have just changed the interface probably, but then I don't know. As much as I'm not that happy with this solution, I still think it's a shorter path. For some reason, I'd rather merge the operator graphs than work on merging the rocket projects. I don't know. Maybe that's not the best solution, but okay. But I think this is basically everything that I needed to do for this scene. So as I move around through the sync stuff, all this should be basically gone, which is great. I'm actually going to check that off my list here. I'll do the lead tunnel. That would have led to a Stack Overflow if this were reachable. Having the function call itself. There's no protection for that in the runtime here. Yeah, it's loading. This is the visual language that I have for doing the effects in the demo tool. Here it's used heavily. In our other ones, it's mostly used to build the post pipeline and organize which shader goes to which scene. But yeah, and this demo it's used for basically everything. So I already like hooked up a bunch of sinus crap for this. We'll do var camera here. And now this is actually the right function, but it's not going to work until we have all these locals. Seeing where I'm going to put that. So we need to do basically all these again. Those flashes are fun. Thanks, Soding. Yeah, epilepsy warning. Here, let me do this. Oh yeah, that doesn't help. Good. So this used, I'll just fix this quick. Camera 1, so we had, what's our distance here, 10. I don't know which value is going to fix this. Hopefully the first one, yay. Yeah, I guess this one didn't actually have that many camera parameters. 50 was -2. Oops. But yeah, the depth of field ones are probably going to fix a lot of this. One and 5. Yeah, so that should probably fix all that crap. That was more trippy than it should have been even. That's some rotation on that axis, which is what this effect always needed. Oops. Yeah, that looked cool with the mirroring. Yeah, this scene will work really well because there's just a lot of like dynamic stuff. Also, I don't really like that it goes out of the tunnel, so I'm gonna adjust that. I think actually in the tunnel itself, there's this, which is like, oh no, that's something else. Here it moves a sign already. Do this. That's nice. Cool. I'm actually going to do... I'm sitting here playing with it. So, I mean, once everything's kind of unrigged like this, then it's kind of fun because then I can just sit here and play with this. But yeah. Yeah, local hoster. That's what always kept me away from a lot of that pre-rendered stuff. I really wanted to do a bunch of like Cinema 4D based motion graphics, but the rendering turned me off so much having done real-time stuff in the demo scene. This, oh yeah, I probably have to do like that. That's a lot. Neat. I also have one of these knobs hooked up to change the effect that goes on in the tunnel. But there's only these 3 values. You kind of have to hit right in the middle to do that one. The warp mode effect, that's the chromatic aberration, which is just like one of the more shameless things we do. Someone complained about that. It was Nothings, the STB guy, that complained about how all demos have that and he hates it. But he should just make his own demos. It's really shameless, but it'll look nice here. Cool. As far as the tunnel goes, there's probably some more stuff I have to... There's this fucking parameter. Turn that down because I don't even remember what that does. Okay, that's actually probably all I need to do for this one. Actually, that was the other thing I was going to do up here. Was this one. I want to hook this up to time really quick. So that was the offset here. Just do time times 5, 10, 20, until it looks fun. Yeah, that's fun. Then we had, what did we have? The stripe width. I actually want to add some sinus crap here. Yeah, totally try later. I totally want to do mess with the colors in post. In fact, just to shake it up here while I'm working on it, I might do some of that, because that'll like pull me out of it needs to look good mode and just into playing mode a little better. But yeah, that's definitely the kind of post stuff I want to add for sure. Where's my tone map and gamma? I actually forked like all the shaders per demo project that we're going to use here, because that's a little nicer. But yeah, I did GB here. Let's do RB then. RG. Make it look slightly different here. I don't think I liked that actually. Yeah. But yeah, and also some like hue adjustment is a really easy one to do to make like all the same effects look different. It tends to help. This one I want to copy one of these views here. Probably this one. Some more sinus crap. Yeah, the cool thing with like doing faster motion, this is actually just kind of, well, that's going to be crap to tweak actually, because the way time works. Meh. Okay, maybe that won't be that easy to do. Never mind. Way too much of that. I really like the mirroring with this one. Also, just cranking the exposure on these makes it look more tasteless, but fun in a way that I like. But yeah, it's gonna copy out this camera. Here, I'll just do both of these at the same time. This camera is 0, so this one. Distance is 10. Offset X is 0, 0. We had rotate X is -80. Rotate Y is negative. No. Rotate Y is -6. Z is -20. And then we have the pivot X, Y, and Z. We're gonna do our depth of field things. X depth is -10. focus range is 12. Here was polygon amount is 0 and polygon size is 5. And I really liked those pentagon bokeh shapes here. And then here we'll do ranks camera. And now we should have focus here. Sweet. Here's a kind of cool thing. I can make this negative distance for the focus depth. Now I can start messing around with this stuff. Rotate Y. Which one's that going to give us? Rotate Z. This is actually the one I want to put on a sine wave. And this one's gonna, what's that one even? Probably gimbal locking a bit there. And that would be why. I don't think there are any specific tracks for this effect, if I recall correctly. Yeah, and then we have a bunch of stuff from other things. Okay, so that might actually be it for this one. Which means Elysian is basically rigged. Except before I move on here, I want to do scene selection based on my drum pads now that I have all this hooked up. In fact, just to be sure, I'll move this around, but I think we're good. So what I want to do here is here, we currently use the scene to select shading and then the actual scene itself. We don't want to do that. We want to do something like this. 36 is the lowest drum thing I have here. So MIDI last note. And we use the Akai machine, which the name is in here. PD26. And the note is 36. Oh yeah, here we do minus 36. And we'll do that same thing for the ball. And then for the tunnel, 37 here. This needs to be absolute. Kind of funny how I set the math up here. And also sorry if I'm not talking into the mic. And then this one, I'll do basically the same thing. So 7, 38. Nice. That just worked first try. Sick. Okay, I just started feeling a lot better about this. Oh yeah, that is actually in the. You're talking about this grid here, right? Yeah, no, that's in the demo. That was in Elysian, but it was like never turned up much, so you couldn't see it much. But I like it. I like grids. You can go to like hyperspeed, switch scenes on you. Sick. I think that's basically these ones. Now I'm actually going to get rid of this camera now. I don't think it's being used anywhere. Shouldn't cause any problems. So that should be enough rigging for Elysian for now. And I think what I want to do next is merge the parts of the Engage project I started on with this. Before I do that, I'm just going to restart the tool. And there's a reason I want to do that. Oops. I'm going to do actually restart the sync tool as well, so that we get totally fresh project. And I just want to make sure none of these effects are reading any sync tracks, because that should tell us what we missed. And already, oh yeah, of course, we have those parameters for the default ones for the depth of field stuff. Also, the ball is still reading these? That was surprising. Oh, apparently the rings also use the stripe position thing. That's fine. We can just not have it apply there. I forgot that those are affected by that as well. Probably because they use the same shader. Okay, so that'll take care of those and the depth of field. Nah, screw it. I'll just leave it there. Or I could actually set these default to 0. Just for peace of mind. Because then it'll be obviously wrong when it's wrong. Yeah, if I hit the other drum pads, we get no scene. Which is correct as of now. Cool. I'll just restart this one more time just to be absolutely sure. Oh, still getting focus depth and focus range somewhere. Did I not save this, or? I hope these aren't being used somewhere down here, but that'll be easy to fix. I don't know where else these could be used. Oh, the particles use them. For sure. Yeah, here it is. The particles use those. Which is actually kind of a cool thing about the particles in this demo. I probably talked about it before, but they totally do some fake depth of field stuff. Which is, yeah, something you don't really notice, but looks really nice in context. This will be an easy fix. Just add the arguments for that here. And then I'll make these focus depth, focus range, and then, because I think draw particles, where does that come from? Yeah, it's here. Actually a bit odd. This should have given me a compilation error, I think. Row. Something's right here, because I should have had to do this. And yeah, push this down here. Not sure why that worked, but screw it. Think we're okay here. Yeah, now we're getting nothing red from the rocket project, which is correct. Cool, I think I can start merging the engage project here now. And the way I'm going to do that is going to be kind of funky. I'm actually going to open the engage project here. Hold up. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take all of this, which is, yeah, this project is a lot smaller, especially because I removed a bunch of like the text and stuff yesterday when rigging all this. But I'm going to take all this stuff and just move it down kind of far. Like to the point where I know it's going to be out of the way. Now I'm going to save that, and I'm going to copy the XML out of that project into the other project. And this should work. Basically all the operators, everything inside this demo tag here. Yeah, I got some purple posts here that actually looks kind of cool. This is the opening tunnel from Engage, but I changed how many mirrors there are polar-wise on this scene. It's kind of cool. Be playing around with more stuff like that as well. But I'm going to do this, and we're going to put it in the Elysium project. Save that, and then I should be able to open that. And now it's all here. And we're going to get some errors about like names that are reused and stuff. But yeah, this looks like it worked already, which is nice. Because there's nothing special about the XML. So this is going to be, what do we have? We had draw scene here. Draw, or we'll do engage draw scene. Yeah, and then init render targets is done in a couple places. We'll rename this one. And render pipeline. Which comes here. There's some top level stuff I'll have to fix as well, but this is going to be fine. Yeah, now all these passes. That'll be annoying. It's here. Eventually, we'll get our Elysian visuals back, and that's how we'll know it works. It'll be easier for me to have like two separate pipelines working and then merge them than it would be to just merge them, I think. Here. No. Here. Far below, yeah. That's what I expected. This is totally the kind of stuff that later it'd be nice to have features to handle this properly. But for now, really is not the worst thing in the world. This is totally the time to just hack it. And just kind of keep in mind the kind of hacks I'm doing. Luckily, I have this compiler that tells me exactly where everything's wrong. Whoops. It'd be here. This aspect stuff is probably going to be fine to reuse, actually. Yeah, I'm just going to reuse. In fact, I think generally these are the same. They should be the same. Yeah, those are the same. So we're going to do this. Just to make sure. Yeah, we have clear up there. Good. And then do the bloom pass stuff. Not too bad. Here. Now, if I had a little more foresight, I could have foreseen that these are the ones that were going to change, and I could have just done that in the XML, but this is going to be fine. Let's get some of these that I know are going to be reused here. And I thought about kind of trying to merge these pipelines, but it's probably better that I don't, to be honest. I think it's just going to be a lot simpler if I just don't. All right, what else we got? Ah, the render targets. Of course, those need to be unique as well. Technically, a lot of these could probably be reused, but yeah, because they use different formats and slightly different layouts, it's just better to just not try to get clever here. Now with these, I got to be a little careful. Because basically everywhere where this is used here, we need to make sure it's pointing at the right target here. It's not going to be quite as easy to detect these, I think. It's actually not that bad. Because we only need to check these render target texture operators. And there should only be one binding for it, which is the one that actually renders to it. Shouldn't be too bad. I think we're actually good there. Yeah, the DOF COC target is going to be one of them. And then we're going to bind to that down here. I think the composite pass is going to use this. That's the other thing that's kind of nice about this is the with a lot of these targets, it'll be pretty obvious kind of where they're used. The far pre-multiply targets. Yeah, Ferris Evoke stuff. I didn't know there were 2 targets for this. That might be annoying. Oh, that makes sense, actually. Far blur target is probably gonna be used here. Here, yep. We get the near downscale target. That makes sense. And so that'll be used in our near downscale pass, which we'll draw to that. And then in the near blur pass, it will use that as an input. That's probably not used anywhere else. Because the blur target's going to be used for the output there. So the blur pass is going to draw to this one. And then the composite pass is going to use this one. That makes sense. Now we should be getting ones in the bloom ones. So we have downscale 1. I think this one only uses 1 downscale target. Then we have some more, but that's fine. Not the worst. This all goes down to this bloom blur target, which will go back and forth, and then that's going to be used in the composite stuff. So this should be pretty easy to do here. Do downscale target 2, which we're going to render to here and use as input here. We'll do the third one. Oh, this is, yeah, we use 2 downscale targets and 2 blur targets that ping pongs back and forth. That makes sense. So here we're rendering to blur target 1 using the downscale target as input. And this one we're going to be using the blur target 1 with blur target 2 as input. Here we're rendering to blur target 2 with blur target 1 as input. And then I'll go ahead and change this one. Even if I wasn't on the stream, I'd probably be talking to myself on this part because it helps me keep track of this stuff. Was that the composite target that I was complaining about? Yeah, probably have to do the aberration masking targets as well, but this will be fine. So that should be the composite pass using this to render to, or not. Yeah, the aberration draws to the composite target, and the composite pass uses that as input. That would do it. Now we have the aberration pass. The aberration target, that is. The masking pass will draw to that, and then the aberration pass will use that as input. And now we're getting the masking target. Not quite done yet. But that may just work. Sick? I say maybe preemptively. There's XML because those aren't the kind of details I want to sit and fuss about, frankly. It's just an interchange format for their projects. So this is our this is our project now. The preferred way to edit this is not via the XML. The preferred way to edit this is in this grid editor. Which, by the way, I do this, and it goes away. And watch how slow this is. Not too bad with the Elysian scenes. But this is the full screen, so this is what it's going to be in like when we're actually doing the live show. Of course, a bit faster. In fact, I'm considering lowering my desktop resolution when we do the show to 720p. Just because I think that'll be a lot easier. Yeah, that's exactly it, localhoster. I use XML because it's super easy to read and describe the things that I need to describe. And so, especially for earlier on when the tool didn't have a lot of these editing features, like even now, it doesn't really have a way for me to copy all the operators from one project into another. So the sort of having a human readable and writable, more so readable, but also writable interchange is the important thing there. Just going to move a bunch of this over here because we're going to need to, actually, I wanted to move all this. Did I do? No, I didn't do a select all. Whatever. Oh no, I don't have a way to scroll to the left. I was hoping to move the entry point, but I can probably just do this by hand. I'll move this stuff in particular. So if I don't call this, but instead I call the engage render pipeline, lol. Okay, some interesting things here. You'll notice we're still, if you look closely, we're still, especially for like the depth of field, we're still getting the right stuff here. So something, this is funny. Something is not using the engage stuff here. That's one, for example, that we need to fix. Or actually, maybe not, depending on if this, yeah, this one actually probably didn't have that. Right, so that's actually okay. Something's a little jank here. Now we're going through the whole pipeline here because you can see the stages in the profiler. Gauge draw scene should be here, and these shouldn't conflict. This should also not conflict with anything. Looks like we're using the wrong G buffers. Wrong G buffer targets as input to something. Particularly the depth of field, perhaps. I'm intentionally not going to take part in this discussion that's happening in the chat right now. This is unnecessary, but might help me find what the actual problem is. I wonder if actually I overwrote one of the texture values here. Probably I didn't, but kind of binding like that could give me an issue. I wonder also if we're getting any. Okay, no GL errors. So no hints there. Do we get any of these? Okay, these work. If I like change scenes here, we are getting some different stuff. So the reflection buffers look to be correct, which is interesting. This GI downscale stuff is definitely working. Also, before I forget, do you want to just have this other call here available? But yeah, these reflections look correct, which means the compositing is at least happening somewhat correctly. Oh, here we go. That's probably right there. There we go. We're still getting a little bit of yellow here, so I'm probably just not using the wrong one somewhere else too. Yeah, here we go. So it's these inputs to our composite target. That makes sense. Let's go over the rest of these here just in case as well. I think we're good now. Cool. So this still has, of course, all the cameras and stuff from Engage. And all the sync. Except I did remove a bunch of scenes, which just don't overwrite the contents of the buffers. So there's a bunch of crap in here too. Yeah, I was only going to take these 3 scenes from here. So I need to get this so that depending on the effect and stuff, it will draw with different shaders and use a different rendering pipeline. Now the way that this is set up, the easiest is probably going to be some kind of hacky thing. Where like I just use the same checks here to call different rendering pipelines rather than try to get too clever here. Because I don't really have a way in this language currently to inject, like to call this pipeline, but then inject the function that you want it to call to render the scene currently. I've been thinking about ways to do that because like in the way I have this set up, I could totally have function pointers as a thing in the runtime. So it would totally be possible to do stuff like that. Another option could be macros. But that might explode some of these graphs. So I'm not really sure if I want to do that because a lot of these things are, yeah, it might end up making multiple copies of render targets and stuff like that if I'm not careful. But I think for this, I'll just be cheeky and use the scene selector things to, yeah, also select the pipeline. Yeah, I'll probably just do that. So I'm going to just grab a bunch of this stuff and move it down a bunch. Give me some room here. And we can do this. So currently we have this render function, which is either going to call the engage render or the Elysian renderer. In fact, I'm even going to rename this one. So I think What were the effects we had here? We had the ball scene. Let's do this. Render ball scene, which is going to call the Elysian renderer. Add a sub. Not pretty, but it'll work. Again, none of this was meant to be used this way, so it's kind of remarkable that I'm able to in the first place. And it's also kind of an interesting experiment just to push this like this. But yeah, so the other thing I need to do here is I'm going to do conditionals for all these. I'm just going to use the same conditionals that it uses for, which ones are these it uses? The ball one will do this. The lead tunnel will do this. And the rangs, which I think is the same, but 38 here. Yep, good. We'll do that. And then we just call all these. So now, yep, that still works. And then we need to start hooking up the other ones. I think before I hook the other ones up, I'm going to do the same thing that I did with this, though. And go through and like copy out the cameras and stuff. Should be kind of a pain in the ass, but I'll do that. However, I've already been streaming for almost 2 hours. And I actually have to go. I think. So yeah, so I'm actually going to head out. And yeah. I'll do a... my Thursday stream will be emulator related as usual. Unless like suddenly... Like I plan to just work putts on this throughout the week. If I have to, like if we're really running out of time and I start to get nervous, then I'll just do this on Thursday. But I don't think that's gonna happen. Because we've got... Like to do what I want to do within the next week should be completely doable. We'll see. Next Sunday, I will not be streaming. At least I don't think I will be. No, let's plan on not, and then I might do a surprise thing where I play a video game or some shit. Or maybe I feel really inspired after Evoke and I want to do something. I don't know. I'm going to plan on not streaming next Sunday. That'll be easier. But yeah, thanks for hanging out, guys, and I will see you next time.